Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Good morning. We're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam. It's Canto 3, Chapter 3, Text 3. 333. Jai. We'll start with the one word at a time. Samahuta.
Samahuta.
Bhishmaka.
Bhishmaka.
Kanyaya.
Kanyaya.
Ye.
Ye.
Shriya.
Shriya.
Savarnane.
Savarnane.
Bubushaya.
Bubushaya.
Esham.
Esham.
Gandharva.
Gandharva.
Vritya.
Vritya.
Mishatam.
Mishatam.
Svabhagam.
Svabhagam.
Jare.
Jare.
Padam.
Padam.
Murdni.
Murdni.
Dadat.
Dadat.
Suparna.
Suparna.
Samahuta Bhishmaka Kanyaya Ye.
Samahuta Bhishmaka Kanyaya Ye.
Shriya Savarnana Nena Bubush Sayai Sam.
Shriya Savarnena Bubushaya Sam.
Gandharva Vritya Mishatam Svabhagam.
Gandharva Vritya Mishatam Svabhagam.
Jare Padam Murni Dadat Suparna.
Jare Padam Murni Dadat Suparna.
Samahuta Bhishmaka Kanyaya Ye.
Samahuta Bhishmaka Kanyaya Ye.
Shriya Savarnena Bubushaya Sam.
Shriya Savarnena Bubushaya Sam.
Gandharva Vritya Mishatam Svabhagam.
Gandharva Vritya Mishatam Svabhagam.
Jare Padam Murni Dadat Suparna.
Jare Padam Murni Dadat Suparna.
Samahuta Bhishmaka Kanyaya Ye.
Samahuta Bhishmaka Kanyaya Ye.
Shriya Savarnena Bubushaya Sam.
Shriya Savarnena Bubushaya Sam.
Gandharva Vritya Mishatam Svabhagam.
Gandharva Vritya Mishatam Svabhagam.
Jare Padam Murni Dadat Suparna.
Jare Padam Murni Dadat Suparna. Samahuta Bhishmaka Kanyaya Ye.
Samahuta Bhishmaka Kanyaya Ye.
Shriya Suvarnena Bubushaya Sham.
Shriya Savarnana Bubushaya Sam.
Gandharva Vritya Mishatam Svabhagam.
Gandharva Vritya Mishatam Svabhagam.
Jare Padam Murni Dadat Suparna.
Jare Padam Murni Dadat Suparna.
Samahuta Bhishmaka Kanyaya Ye.
Samahuta Bhishmaka Kanyaya Ye.
Shriya Sarvana Bubushaya Sam. Shriya
Bubushaya Sam.
Gandharva Vritya Ishatam Svabhagam
Gandharva Vidyami Satam Svabhagam.
Mohini Dadat Suparna
Murti Dadat Suparna. Samabhuta Vishmaka Kanyaya. Shriya Savane Shaya Sam. Gandharva Svabhagam. Murti Dadat Suparna. Samabhuta Vishmaka Kanyaya. Shriya Sarvanena Bhushaya Sam. Gandharva Vidyami Satam Svabhagam. Charipradam Murti Dadat Suparna. Samahita Vishmaka Kanyaya. Shriya Sarvanena Bhushaya Sam. Gandharva Vidyami Satam Svabhagam. Charipradam Murti Dadat Suparna. Would anyone online like to chant the verse?
Samahuta Bhishmaka Kanyaye
Samahita Vishmaka Kanyaya.
Shriya Sarvanena Bubhushaya Sham
Shriya Sarvanena Bhushaya Sam.
Gandharva Vidyami Shatam Svabhagam
Gandharva Vidyami Satam Svabhagam.
Jare Paramurni Dadat Suparna
Charipradam Murti Dadat Suparna. Samahuta,
Samahita
invited.
Invited
Bhishmaka,
Bhishmaka
of King Bhishmaka.
of King Bhishmaka
Kanyaya,
Kanyaya
by the daughter.
by the daughter
Yea,
Yea
all those.
all those
Shriya,
Shriya
fortune.
Fortune
Savarnena,
Savarnena
by a similar sequence.
sequence
Bubhushaya,
Bhushaya
expecting to be so.
expecting to be
Esham, of them.
of them
Gandharva,
Gandharva
in marrying.
in marrying
Vritya,
Vidya
by such a custom.
by such a custom
Misatam,
Ishatam
carrying so.
carrying so
Svabhagam,
Svabhagam
own share.
Ozer
Jare,
Jare
took away.
Away
Padam, feet.
Feet
Murdni,
Morni
on the head.
on the head
Dadat,
Dadat
placed.
placed
Suparna,
Suparna
Garuda.
Garuda
Translation. Attracted by the beauty and fortune of Rukmini, the daughter of King Bhishmaka, many great princes and kings assembled to marry her. But Lord Krishna, stepping over the other hopeful candidates, carried her away as his own share, as Garuda carried away nectar. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Princess Rukmini, the daughter of King Bhishmaka, was actually as attractive as fortune itself, because she was as valuable as gold, both in color and in value. Since the goddess of fortune, Lakshmi, is the property of the Supreme Lord, Rukmini was actually meant for Lord Krishna. But Shishupal was selected as her bridegroom by Rukmini's elder brother, although King Bhishmaka wanted his daughter to be married to Krishna. Rukmini invited Krishna to take her away from the clutches of Shishupal. So when the bridegroom, Shishupal, came there with his party with the desire to marry Rukmini, Krishna all of a sudden swept her from the scene, stepping over the heads of all the princes there, just as Garuda carried away nectar from the hands of the demons. This incident will be clearly explained in the 10th canto. Om Agyanatimirandasya Ginanjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharni Nirvachisa Zonyavadi Prasthata Desi Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasari Gauravakti Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So this is this chapter is entitled "The Lord's Pastimes Out of Vrindavan." So this is these verses here are speaking about different pastimes of Lord Krishna after he left Vrindavan, after his childhood pastimes, after he left Vrindavan, and so I do want to tell a story, and I do want to get into the story about Krishna and Rukmini. And also I'm thinking about this special time of year. It's the holiday season, the Vaishnav holy day season. And so we just had the appearance day of Lord Balaram. Lord Balaram's very prominent in this pastime with Princess Rukmini, stealing away Princess Rukmini. And yes, we have the appearance day of Lord Balaram, and then that's kind of setting the stage for the appearance of Lord Krishna, of Janmashtami, coming soon, the 19th here in Florida, and then the day after that, Srila Prabhupada's Vyasa Puja, his appearance day, Srila Prabhupada's birthday, the day after Janmashtami, and then a little while after, then Radhastami, the appearance day of Srimati Radharani, who is Rukmini. Rukmini is an expansion of Lord of Radharani, Queen Radha. And so, and then we get into Kartik. So Kartik comes soon after Kartik, month of Damodar. So like special times of meditate on Krishna's childhood pastimes, especially as the binding of the ropes by Mother Yashoda, when he was stealing, getting naughty, and breaking butter pots. And she bound him. Krishna allowed himself to be bound by his love, by the love of his devotee. And so that's so it's like the holiday season, Vaishnava holiday season, high festival season. And so yeah, we're familiar. Western countries, holiday season, okay, Thanksgiving, Halloween and Thanksgiving, Christmas. And so this is the Vaishnava holiday season. It's holy day. Holiday comes from holy day.
Holy day, holiday.
Yes. And so, so holiday has come to mean like, especially in British English, you take a holiday, it's like a vacation, what we call a vacation in America. It's like taking time for leisure activities. So it's like taking a holiday. I'm going to stop my regular work job, and I'm going to take some time for leisure activity. That's what it's come to mean, I'm going to do fun things. But the originally, a holiday was especially reserved just for certain religious spiritual occasions. And so I know for me, especially just to honor the especially in the early stages, just to honor the Vaishnava holy days is an austerity in and of itself. It's a bit of a sacrifice in the Western countries, in our Western world, because it's like on a Thursday in the middle of August, I'm going to take off of work to go to Bahrain. Hey boss, I need to take off because it's a some holiday, or I'm not going to do this regular activity because yeah, it's Krishna's appearance day. It's a Friday. Oh, but what about the banking needs to happen, or these things need to happen. So yeah, in our Christian holiday season, the society is set up to support us, to honor these holidays, to go out and spend the money. That's what it's become now. To take off of work. Basically, the government, the corporations decided this is actually a good thing. People, if they work too much, then they can't go spend money. So we need to give them some days off where they can go and spend their money.
They attach Black Friday to the
Yeah.
perfect.
Right. So go ahead and take that Friday off so you can just go do shopping. So yeah, so we're supported by the government and the different civic institutions to honor these, holidays, Thanksgiving, Halloween, and everything like that. But basically, there's not very much support, in the society to honor these Vaishnava holy days. So yes, especially even for me, especially early on, just even to keep track of the calendar, like when is it, what day is that, and what are we supposed to do on that day? And fasting. Oh, okay. It's an austerity, and it's a worthwhile austerity, and it's we take time off of work. For leisure activities, we take time away from our regular activities, go on vacations, and oftentimes those lead to more miseries. Yeah, I just went on a family. I made a distinction when I came back from the family trip. I made a distinction. Yeah, there's a distinction between a family trip and a vacation. The difference is that after you take a family trip, you need a vacation to recover from the family trip to get a job. So so it's part of our, for material enjoyment, for material things, to take time off of work, to take time away from our schedule, set aside time, go do something that's going to be fun and rejuvenating, or whatever it is. So these so just like in Krishna consciousness, there's no it's not about canceling out or voiding. It's not about voiding anything, any natural principle or natural activity. It's about dovetailing those in Krishna consciousness. So we have a propensity to need a day off, to need a day off, and to want to get away from whatever. So these Vaishnava holy days are a perfect day to do that, and to do that absorbed in Krishna consciousness, something that's going to be ultimately an upward spiritual spiral, and spend time focused on eternal activities, like immersing ourselves in reading Prabhupada's books, doing kirtan and bhajan, doing service, going on the streets, Harinam, saying kirtan.
That's so reentry.
That's the only thing. That's the only thing, Molly. We could just turn over to Molly, just only talk about that for the rest of the time. But because that's also to go on vacation, to take a trip, to travel. Originally, travel equaled pilgrimage. Like that was basically it. That's this idea to go travel around. It's kind of like, well, the idea is you go on a pilgrimage. You go to travel to holy places. We read recently on Lord Balaram's appearance day about his touring of the holy places in Vrindavan, and that's it. So what was he doing? It means similar thing, going to the water. We all want to go to the water, like the springs, the beach. I mean, that's basically summer in Florida is just how many different kinds of water can I go to survive the heat? Go to the springs, go to the pool, go to the river, go to the ocean. So Lord Balaram was doing, visiting holy places, and take a bath in the river. But these are holy rivers, purifying rivers because of the spiritual potency there. Bharat in India, areas of India, holy places. So the activities may look similar. He's traveling, he's visiting places, sightseeing in a sense, going to see, different temples and visiting, offering obeisances and offering respects and engaging. So it might look similarly, sightseeing and going to the water, but this is like, it's purifying, it's uplifting, and it's it'll be lasting longer than just that fleeting trip, that fleeting vacation. Be more impact because it's focused on eternal activities, the eternal activities of the soul. So holiday, holy day. I was just also thinking, just sharing what would come to me as I'm giving class. I was preparing to give class. Is that we have that there's like so just like how holy day, like a holy day and became a holiday, and just a time, and then just a time to spend money, just be materialistic. It's like a degradation over time of like something that was originally spiritual. And so we can observe that in society. It's like a degradation of things from that were originally spiritual, and perhaps they were been maybe corrupted in some ways, but then it's like we don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. That there's like Prabhupada and the previous acharyas, Prabhupada and the previous acharyas, like Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati and Bhaktivinoda Thakur, they spent so much time, not so much time, but they spent a significant amount of time focusing on or rooting out the corruption, pointing out the corruption in the name of spirituality, in the name of Vaishnavism, in the name of these eternal spiritual principles. They gave a lot of focus there, and Bhaktivinoda Thakur is credited with rejuvenating, the Vaishnava tradition. This Lord Chaitanya's mission, rejuvenating it, because it had become corrupted and kind of contaminated, in some sense, kind of covered over in some sense. Not that its eternal process is never lost, but it had become obscured and kind of people cheating in the name of repurpose. So he did not just like, reject, because he could have done that. It could have done that, and just reject and this spirituality, this religion is bad. We need to separate it from our lives. We need to separate it. Take God out of it. Take God out of the school. Take God out of take religion out of the the institutions. We need to have separation. We need to take this out. That's a choice. It's a way to go. But they use that energy to really revive and rejuvenate the authentic and true, movement of Lord Chaitanya's movement. So that's like, and not to throw the baby out with the bathwater. So this is it's seen as progress. It's seen as progressive, seen as progress to take God out of things, to like, we could see, because we see at one time, like I mentioned, vacation, pilgrimage, that was what travel was. Holy days meant a religious function. Even just in our language, that goodbye in English, goodbye comes from God be with you. That was originally God be with you. God be with you. So it's like you're saying, just in our everyday, how many times we say goodbye? Now we're just saying bye-bye or bye or something. We're not even connected with it, any of the meaning. But this was like a prayer. It's like a prayer is like a plea. Is like you're leaving someone's presence, like, oh, may God be with you. Hope, a prayer for this person. So this was so spirituality, religion, God was at one time so much a part of everyday life. So now it seems like foreign to be like, I'm going to immerse myself into this spiritual practice and spiritual tradition. Like it's a little extreme because I'm, okay, go to meditation every once a week or go to church every Sunday, or like, I need to have my regular life. I don't want to let my, spirituality, religion get in the way of my enjoyment of what's really, the real thing I want to be doing. So yeah, okay, go a little bit here and there. That's like kind of what's become accepted or seen as spiritual, being religious. Oh, you go to church once a week, you're religious. That's pretty religious. Especially if you go every week. If you go every Sunday, that's really religious, actually. Like you're pretty like
Up high.
Yeah, every Sunday. Wow. Holy, I can't make it every Sunday. I got too many things. So it's like, so that's kind of the standard, but this is a degraded standard. And so it's kind of, our perspective is out of whack. The original perspective was, it was all immersing, all encompassing. Our speech every day, we're talking about it. God be with you. Just anytime we leave someone's presence. So yeah, so it's progress, but it's not the Pilgrim's Progress. It's not the Pilgrim's Progress. It's more like Maya, more like progress. The path of Maya, an illusion that. And so nothing wrong with progress, being progressive, but we want to be like, what are we progressing towards? What are we making progress towards? What's the goal? What's the what are we progressing towards? So Prabhupada was very progressive with his because he had a goal, and that's to spread Krishna consciousness, spread Lord Chaitanya, fulfill Lord Chaitanya's desire and intention that everywhere in the world, every town and village will be chanting of the holy names of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, 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 Hare Hare. So, so maybe even he was criticized for not being conservative or traditional enough sometimes, by those in India or God Brothers or something. Because he was very liberal, very progressive in terms of time, place, and circumstance, and like establishing like a brahmacharini ashram. So it's like for women to be able to live in an ashram and take shelter and live like a celibate, like a spiritual life, away from their families in the temple, like. That was not part of that's not what was happening in India.
No, the Vedic system.
It's not the Vedic system. It's not what was happening in India whenever he left. But you can see, okay, it's very practical. It's very practical because in India there's not a need for a brahmacharini ashram. They're just like, maybe when we visited, when we went to Bangalore, I was like, oh, is there where did the ladies stay or whatever, the temple? And he's like, what do you mean? Like they're with their parents, and then whenever they get married, they go with their husband, or like what do you mean? Because there's no need for that. But you can probably see that in the West, there's like women were unprotected, unprotected women, and the Vedic system is that they're protected. And in India too. In India too. my mother-in-law. This was also it's not just like the Vedic system, like this was happening. This is what was happening. Like even in my mother-in-law's time, she went from her father's house to her husband's house. And that was it. There was no in between, there was no single life in that. She was under the protection of her father, and then she's with her with her husband, and she's still married now. She's still with her husband. So that's the kind of the standard, and it's like have a degraded standard. Have a degraded. What we accept as normal or standard or whatever. As progressive. What is seen as progressing as a progression. So Prabhupada could see that the standard is that they live a good Vaishnava woman that lives with their Vaishnava family, is taken care of, doesn't need to worry about whatever, doesn't need to worry about us. Just can focus on Krishna consciousness and doesn't need to go visit the temple. We don't need to live in the temple. We don't need to live in the ashram. We can be in the family home, and then ultimately get married, and then be in that family home, that new family home. There's no need, but Prabhupada can see that. Well, that's not what's happening here. So what can we do? Okay, Brahmacharini ashram. So that's like bold, innovative, super progressive, out of the box, really left-leaning, you could say. So, but there was a specific purpose. It was purpose-driven, and it was towards a spiritual goal. And so that's yeah. So he gives us the example there of how to what's real progress, what's really being progressive. So so in this verse that so what's happening here? So it seems like this woman, this Rukmini, she's in her family home, and then she's arranged to be married, and then she's arranged to be married, and then Krishna comes and steals her away. So what's that? What's happening there? Is that is that traditional values, or that what's happening with it? So I'll endeavor to tell the story a little bit. That Malini's expert in storytelling, so maybe she'll chime in or later or fill in the gaps or whatever. But I want to endeavor to tell the story. So all right, so we know that Krishna in Vrindavan has his amorous pastimes, loving pastimes with Radharani. But he's left Vrindavan. He's out of Vrindavan, so he's like a bachelor. So he's not married yet. He's not married yet, and so there's this Princess Rukmini. Her older brother is Rukmi, and basically it's like, so her older brother is Rukmi, and he's envious of Krishna, kind of antagonistic towards Krishna, and it's basically an open secret that Rukmini and Krishna are supposed to be together. It's just that's what it's described as an open secret, but Rukmi doesn't want that, and so his friend, and who he wants to be his brother-in-law, Shishupal, he's arranged that Shishupal will marry Rukmini, and the father, King Bhishmaka, he's going along with it out of affection for his son. He's not fully aligned with it, but he's his elder son. He's putting his he's on his side, so he's going along with it out of parental affection, like that. And so actually so Princess Rukmini, she's never even actually seen Krishna before, but she knows Krishna. She knows Krishna, and so she sends a message. She sends a brahmana to deliver a message, deliver a letter, a love letter to Krishna, and basically requesting that he come and take her away, that he come and take her away from this marriage, that she doesn't want to get married. She wants to marry Krishna. And actually, Krishna, when this message is coming, Krishna is like fighting a battle, like against this king, this kind of demoniac king Jarasandha, and he's already battled and defeated Jarasandha like 17 times or something like that, and he's like coming again, and they're battling, and Krishna's already like wiped out like a lot of the army, and he's like has collected jewels and bringing it back to jewels and wealth and bringing it back to Dvarka. But this was the battle was immature. I think they're bringing the jewels back to Dvarka. I think something like that. But the battle's happening in Mathura, so I think they're preparing Dvarka. They were preparing Dvarka while preparing to go to Dvarka, right? So like so they're gonna take all the jewels and the wealth and go to Dvarka, and so Krishna's basically, actually the chapter is in the Krishna book is the Krishna the Ranchor. Krishna the Ranchor, that like what Ranchor means, like he left someone who leaves the battlefield. I kind of seen as a coward because he's already fought Jarasandha so many times and defeated him, and he doesn't want to fight him again. And so he's just like, I'm out of here. I'm done with this. This is enough. And he leaves the battlefield, which is not seen as a Kshatriya thing to do, necessarily, a warrior thing to do. But it's described that actually he had a secret purpose in leaving the battlefield, and that was to attend to this message from Rukmini, to attend to this letter and this message. So it's also of note that I appreciate that. So Rukmini is betrothed to this Shishupal. So Shishupal, who Shishupal is, we can go back to. For me, I go back to the advanced course. Whenever there's a part in the advanced course where somehow Dear Govinda managed to put in something in the advanced course about Sandesh and Gulabjamins in the advanced course somehow. So it's like the part where it's like, oh, do you like Sandesh or Gulabjamins better? Like left turn. What are we doing now?
Which do you like?
Yeah. Which actually in the most recent advanced course didn't quite work. One of the participants actually did not like Sandesh at all. Or one of them, whichever one it was. She actually, so it was like, so you really don't like Sandesh? Like, yeah, no, really, I really don't like Sandesh. But usually it's like that. Yeah, we like Sandesh and Gulabjamin, but maybe one I like less. But that doesn't mean that I really hate or dislike one. The one I like least. It's just out of the two, it's like lesser. It's like a trying to bring that principle out. But yeah, and so in the advanced course was my first time hearing about it, about 14 years ago, almost 14 years ago, and about the four Kumaras. So the four Kumaras, these saintly personalities, spotless personalities, and they are they go wherever they want in the universe. So they're spotless personalities. So they're pure devotees. They can go anywhere, including Vaikuntha, if they wanted to. But it so happens that they arrived at the gates of Vaikuntha, and there was two gatekeepers, Jai and Vijay, who were not letting them in. And because they said, oh, you're not completely pure. And as it turns out that actually they were pure, four Kumaras were pure, but Jai and Vijay were seeing some impurities from themselves. They were projecting. So it's like the principle of projection, that they were projecting what the impurities that they had in their hearts onto these spotless personalities. So naturally, the spotless personalities curse them, but it's actually not a curse, because it ends up being a wonderful, wonderful boon. But it perhaps seems like a curse because they need to go take birth as demons, and so it's 3 births. They need to do 3 births, at least at that. I guess that's where, I guess it could be 4 births. It got Lord Jagai Madai, it's in Lord Chaitanya's pastimes. Was the first birth was as Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu. That Hiranyaksha was killed by Lord Krishna in the form of the boar, in the form of Rahadev, and Hiranyakashipu was killed by Nishingadev, Lord Krishna in the form of Nishingadev. And then, so that was the first birth. And then the second birth is Jai and Vijay. They were born of those. And then their second birth was as Ravana, the evil king demon Ravana, who's killed by Lord Ramachandra in his pastimes. And also, so there's Ravana and his brother Kumbhakarna. Kumbhakarna was Jai and Vijay's second birth. And then the third birth is here in Krishna's pastimes. And so Shishupal is one of them. Is Jai or Vijay? I don't know which one. Shishupal is one of them, and it's Shishupal's brother, I think. Can't remember his name. Is it? Danda Karana. Dantavakra is his brother. So that's one of the brothers, Jai and Vijay. So basically, we could tell. So Shishupal is hopeless. There's no chance for him. I mean, it just happened to be a burst. So it's just a matter of time for Shishupal. So if you think Shishupal is going to get to marry Princess Rukmini, I don't think so. So he's cursed. He's a demon. But it seems like a curse, but it's a boon, because they get personally killed by Krishna three different births, and then ultimately they get liberation. And it's described, Krishna is absolute. So the nature of absolute, it's like there's no difference. Everything's good. Everything's auspicious. There's no good and bad. There's nothing that's not good. There's nothing that's not auspicious. So, Krishna's killing is non-different than his, loving or anything else that we do. The effect of it is the same. So it's auspicious, and they ultimately get liberation. So it's not really a curse. It's a pastime. They get to come and enact these pastimes with Lord Krishna, where he gets to have this fun of killing the demons. So Shishupal, there's no hope for him. So they're scheduled to be married, and Rukmini's waiting for Krishna. She sent the message, but she hasn't seen the Brahmana. They haven't come back yet. And it's like the wedding day, and there's all these princes are there because they just want to see Rukmini. Like, maybe they're well-wishers in a sense to Rukmini and Shishupal, but mostly they want to see Rukmini. She's like amazingly beautiful, and they're there. And actually, it's said that a lot of these princes and other kings and warriors, and even like Shishupal's father, I think, that they were coming there for the wedding, but they also had a sense Krishna was going to be there. So they're more so coming for the fight. They're coming for expecting a fight, because they said, well, Krishna is probably going to come, and let's get ready. And even Jarasandha was there, who had just, Krishna left the battlefield with Jarasandha. So Jarasandha was there. So there's it's a big occasion. There's a big wedding, and they're expecting a big fight. They're thinking Krishna is going to come. It's open secret. All the citizens of this place, I don't know where it is. So all the citizens of this place, are in love with Rukmini, and they want her to be with Krishna. So they're really kind of sad, and that he married Shishupal. So they're hoping that Krishna comes. He hasn't shown up yet. So it's and then Rukmini's going to the temple, the temple, the family deity. Go to the temple they're getting ready. The ceremonies are starting, and there's all these princes that are assembled there. And then how's Krishna gonna get her out of there? Right? There's all these, it's impossible. There's all these warriors, and they're ready, it's open secret. They know he's probably coming, and they're ready to fight. But it's described that Princess Rukmini's beauty was so astonishing and otherworldly and stunning that as soon as she came out of the temple or came into the assembly, all the princes and the great warriors, they basically just fainted and stunned and just kind of the cartoon whoa, boggled and just fell over, basically just fell over. So that freed up Krishna to just calmly stroll in with his chariot and pick up Rukmini and just be on his way. But so then they kind of came to their senses, and then Krishna's getting away. What's happening? And then so they went to fight, and they were fighting Krishna, and then but they could see Shishupal wasn't even putting up much of a fight. And so these princes are princes and other warriors what am I going to fight for him? He's not even fighting for himself, not even worthy. So they basically say, forget it and give up. But Rukmi is not deterred. So but I'll mention this one thing. It's described, I think it's described two different ways. Prabhupada describes Krishna coming to take away Rukmini like a lion stealing away prey from jackals or something like that. It's like these jackals are trying to enjoy, and that's material consciousness. Is that it's just a demonic consciousness. It's not just out there; it's within ourselves. That the Rukmini belongs with Krishna. Rukmini's, it says the goddess of fortune Lakshmi is the property of the Supreme Lord. Rukmini was actually meant for Krishna. So that's we're trying to enjoy. I said try to enjoy Sita without Lord Ram, or trying to enjoy Rukmini without Lord Krishna. That we're trying to enjoy the material energy. We're trying to enjoy separately from Krishna. We're trying to we're identifying with the body, and we're trying to enjoy with the senses. Then it's we're trying to we're like the jackals. We're like the jackals in this assembly that are trying to steal away, or trying to, because really, it says that Krishna is stealing away Rukmini, but actually it was these jackals were trying to steal Rukmini, Shishupal, Rukmini, and other princes. That's the actual truth. And Krishna came to take away what was meant, who was meant to be with him. And so this material consciousness of trying to enjoy Lakshmi, trying to enjoy money. Money's the main thing that we maybe see of now. Trying to have money, trying to get our own sense enjoyment, sense gratification. That this is based on false identification with the body. So it's the spiritual ABCs that Prabhupada gives us so plainly and cleanly. And that's the distinction between spirit and matter. That you have experienced that matter decays. That in the material world, that things come and grow, have some growth, and then they produce some byproducts, and then they dwindle and then die. And that's that's material life. And and that's distinct from spirit. Spirit is superior matter. That there's something that remains the same through the body changing and then producing byproducts and dwindling and dying. That there's something that stays the same. There's some constant identity that remains through those material changes. So you see, spirit is not touched by matter. So that's it's a distinction between the soul and the body. And that if we're identifying with the body, then we're under the spell of Maya. We're under the spell of illusion. And so so under the spell of Maya, we think we can steal away Princess Rukmini. We think we can enjoy, Lakshmi, on our own without Krishna, and then we fail, and it's a failing endeavor, and then we try to numb ourselves with that failing feeling. We endeavor to numb it with more illusion and go into more illusion. So this Prabhupada gives a way to come out of the illusion, to identify with spirit, and gives a process, and to kind of how to peel back the layers of illusion. And it starts with we don't need to give up anything. It just starts with adding Krishna, that the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra is the most authorized mantra in this age for self-realization, for realizing ourselves as distinct from the body, the distinction between spirit and matter. So it starts with that, just adding Krishna, and then also to help us get out of the spell of illusion. Then there's things that we can do to help support ourselves to be more sattvic in our habits and consciousness and living and our thoughts, and to support the intelligence, like meat eating is kind of, we know the term like a meathead. A meathead is really somebody dense. Also, there's a term cheesehead. I thought about that too. Too much cheese can be a problem also. But there's different kinds of cheese, and so some cheese are better than others. I think my youngest son, I think he can eat like any kind of dairy is really good for him. Like he just needs more and more dairy, but like especially like not just like cheese, like American cheese or something, but like paneer and things like that, like yogurt and milk, like just that's really good for him. With my older son, not as much, not as good. So anyway, so we took the term like meathead. Because it's like eat meat and you just kind of like caveman, like just consciousness. It's dense. It's a dense food, dense consciousness. So there's like a vegetarian diet, and it's more like more subtle consciousness. Ultimately, prasadam, that's transcendental. That's the way to transcendentalize the eating. But yeah, just even giving up meat, and that's like it's progress, because it's helping us come out of the illusion. It's like a finer intelligence. Prabhupada describes it. It's like there's a finer intelligence that's required for spiritual matters, because spiritual matters are more subtle. So, and he even lends that. That you can see a distinction, even like the Japanese diets, and some of the Asian diets, like Japanese specifically, like they eat a lot of fish and seafood, and he lends this stuff like, well, that's like a more subtle than like eating cows and whatever, pigs or whatever. It's more subtle, and that's good for, because there's a lot of talk about like omega-3 or fatty, all these things, like, oh, you need meat to get these, this kind of good thing for your brain or whatever, these different fats for your brain, like you need fish oil or something. And Prabhupada says, that the fish is good for material intelligence, and you see that the Japanese are very advanced Toyotas and Japanese vehicles and Japanese electronics, that they're very, very advanced materially intelligent. But Prabhupada says the spiritual intelligence needs more subtle, more fine, and there's specifically milk products that give the finer brain tissues, how I'm understanding it, that help to support like the finer distinctions, making us finer, like this subtle spiritual distinctions. So that's part of giving us out of the illusion, and then regulated sex life according to the Vedic principles. That's like also supports us to get out of the illusion that our body, it's like kind of the same flesh of that we eat and flesh that we desire. It's like similar kind of consciousness there. And then intoxication is pretty clear. That helps us get out of illusion. And if we're adding on intoxication to already this illusion that we think we can steal away, the goddess of fortune, that we think we can enjoy separately from Krishna, then we add on more illusion to that with intoxication and more disconnection from, you know, who we really are, our authentic self, our authentic experience. If we numb ourselves from that, then we're further into illusion. And then gambling, to stay away from gambling, we can understand that it's like living an honest life. Like gambling is generally seen as dishonest. It's like there's a phrase like the honest way to make a living, or how to, like, someone has makes an honest living. That's kind of like the connotation there, is that you work hard and you make your money in a, you know, from based on your work, not just like gambling or speculating or taking really risky endeavors or cheating people. So gambling helps us to come more to truth, to avoiding things that are gambling in life. And there's many different ways we can gamble. That helps us to come more into truth. So anyway, back to the story. So Krishna's taking away Rukmini, and then Balaram's there. Forgot to say, Balaram's there. Totally, Balaram's there. It's because he's like, he knew, he's like, oh, Krishna's, he knew that Krishna's going to Rukmini, and he's like, well, there's going to be all these like warriors and kings there. Like, I need to go help. So Balaram brings whole military with him to prepare. So basically it's Balaram and the army that's doing most of the fighting, and Krishna's just telling Rukmini, don't worry, they're all going to be taken care of. We're good. We're good. We're going to go. And but Rukmini does catch up to Krishna. So Rukmini's elder brother does catch up to Krishna. They have a battle, and Krishna defeats him, and then like Krishna's ready to kill him. Like it's time to be killed. But Rukmini, out of her, it's her brother, it's her wedding day, it's inauspicious to have, for her other brother to be killed on her wedding day. Of course, she has so much love and affection, so she pleased Krishna, and she Yogeshvar. She just refers to him as Yogeshvar, and something else, Jagatpati, or Father of the Universe, and Master of all mystics. And he says, please, spare him. Basically, she pleads for Krishna to spare him. So Krishna decided, okay, well, he needs some punishment, but I'm not going to kill him. So he just like cuts his hair, like in just kind of random places, like cuts off some of his beard. Because for a Kshatriya, you see like these pictures of like Arjuna, and they're right here, but like Arjuna on the Bhagavad Gita somewhere. Krishna, Arjuna has this really nice mustache. You always see Arjuna with a really nice mustache.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like a pride. It's like a pride of a long, like a Kshatriya bun, like long hair. My son wants like Kshatriya bun. He wants to grow his hair out so he can like have a Kshatriya bun up here. So it's like long hair with the bun and like beautiful like mustache, and it's like that's very masculine, very manly, very warrior like. So it's like totally part of the identity, part of the Kshatriya experience. And so he just like cuts part of his mustache, and so he looks ridiculous. And so Balaram catches up with them, and then so this Balaram has a new sister-in-law, so he wants to like get in good with her and be show affection to her. So he really like chastises Krishna. Krishna, what did you do? This is almost as bad as killing him. It's almost as bad. Look how ridiculous he looks, and like this is not befitting, and like so yeah. And so that's Krishna's stealing of Rukmini, and his first wife of 16,108 wives, and all of them aren't necessarily as spectacular as that, but many of them are. Many of the is uniting with those queens are quite spectacular.
Mhm.
I will pause or stop my sharing and welcome any additions to the story or questions, comments. Damayanti?
Was there a wedding with Krishna that day or when?
I think
There is a wedding now. When you arrive. You won't come.
he rides into Markham.
Yeah, I think so. There is a wedding. And King Bhishmaka coming. Yeah.
She gets her wedding day, yeah.
I was thinking about you sharing at the beginning about the trip.
Yeah.
And when I was thinking like, yeah, like I imagine like in the old days, even in the West,
Yeah.
that those holy days, they were really creating some scars for children. You know, like some scars for children that, yeah, we do something different and it becomes really fun and it's all for God. Or like we are going to travel and it's fun and it's all for God. So we create a samskar of like associating things that we look with God,
yeah.
with fun. And also I was thinking like Prahlad Maharaj said, like basically he said, if we are planning for fun, that's when we are going to create the most misery for ourselves. So planning fun, anything is going to lead to miseries, and often those kind of vacation and holidays, that's what they're about. Planning fun, we have so much fun. And I remember being with my parents and like, oh God, it was
so boring.
Terrible time we ever had this vacation that we are supposed to be so fun.
Yeah.
Or birthday party or whatever.
Garuda and I are suffering this whole week trying to plan something for our kid's birthday. None of it resonates with either of us, and we're rolling and yeah, we're just like rolling over.
You want it to be fun.
They want it to be fun. We don't want to hear them cry, you know. And we're not willing to give them a gift. Like, let's go do an experience. The experience is just every one option is annoying to us. And we're like, we spent hours talking this week, and now I'm like, yeah, can we just do something spiritual? And they can cry about it. I don't really know, but it's like we don't want to participate in this, and we're like stuck in like having already done it, and it's just like, you know, Cyprian's birthday is on Janmashtami, and they now have contact with Nitai, a boy, and his sister, and they really wanted to go for Balaram's appearance day early to the temple, like wake up at 3:45 a.m. like an adventure. And then as soon as Lieto heard that, he wanted that, and Cyprian both wanted this experience of waking up at 3:45 a.m. to go. So I'm thinking like, well, let's do that on Janmashtami. You know, wake up really, really, really early, and that's like the adventure. I don't know.
It's wonderful.
Yeah, it's like, but is that all they're expecting? You know, and like we have to break it to them somehow. I don't know. And then like, and hear them up for St. Kirtan that night, which they don't want to do. So I don't know how we'll do that. But anyway, we're suffering pre-trip because we don't want to do any of it, and or you know, pre-birthday. I'm just saying that's my life this week. It's been hours of mulling over this topic.
Yeah. But it's not like, yeah, either way, it's like
Prahlad Maharaj just said so that way.
What?
Prahlad Maharaj just said that something like family life is that way. That way.
Someone's walking in the field. And there's a deep well covered by grass. And then one doesn't notice and you step on it and fall in. And you can scream, but no one's going to hear you. That's material family life.
There's lots of others in that well.
they can't.
Yeah.
Each in their different dark well. Freedom under Kupa. Dark well.
Malini?
I wanted to share something about the pastime of Rukmini. because as you said, she never saw Krishna. So in a sense, she was in the same position we are in to hear about Krishna. She was hearing from Saint Nada, you know, like Parvati Muni, who was visiting King Vidarbha. So she was hearing like from Srimad Bhagavatam, basically. She was hearing from Srimad Bhagavatam, she was hearing from them about, you know, who Krishna is, what Krishna does. And from that, she made it very clear that, you know, all human men were kind of not even slightly desirable from hearing about Krishna. So often when I read that pastimes, I think of that, like we are in the same situation that King Rukmini, and we can, through hearing, develop such a taste for Krishna's association that any material association is going to become like really unwanted. Distasteful. Yeah.
Nice. I appreciate that. Yes. Yeah. Also, the Krishna book is described, you know, because she's doing activities. She did like some what would be seen as demigod worship and thing like that. She did other activities also, but the purpose was Krishna. Purpose was to get to be with Krishna in mind. So like all those any activities that she was doing, like we're saying, like she's supposed to get married, but she's writing someone else to come and steal her away. Like, well, but it's auspicious because everything that she was doing was to be with Krishna. Yeah. And then what Damayanti was sharing. It's like either way I was hearing it. Either way is it as suffering and austerity, like where you go do what they want to do, and it's like going to be suffering, or you just break it to them that they're going to do this activity and they're going to be suffering and maybe they don't want to do it. But it's like, what's the suffering for? It's like suffering for like a higher purpose and austerity. You know, what's the austerity for? So it's like we're always going to be struggling. There's always going to be some challenge, and then it's like, what's a worthwhile struggle? What's a worthwhile challenge to take on? And that depends on our purpose and what's our goal, on what's really a worthwhile struggle to be in, and also with the like holy days and pilgrimage and things like that. I mean, especially I think what we're talking about is previous ages, pilgrimage hundreds of years ago, perhaps even thousands of years ago, and traveling was an austerity. So because you walk or you take a wagon or horse or something. So it's like, why would I travel anywhere? It's like so hard to travel somewhere. So what's the point of traveling? Only for God, to go to a pilgrimage. Oh, this once a year to this, Mecca, or once a year to this holy site. That's the only reason why I would go through all that austerity of packing up things and traveling where I don't know who people and foreigners, strangers, and that's the only reason why I would go through that austerity. And now we kind of have it's faster, it's quicker, we have some illusion, but it's still suffering. It's still an austerity to travel, to pack up things and travel. And so car crashes could happen or whatever, like sickness, you travel, you get diseases, and so there's still so much suffering, so much. So like, why go through that? What's the point of going through that? And of course, I'm speaking with someone who just did that. So I'm fully in illusion myself, except with
so fun, huh?
these Bhagavatam class. We did have, and there were some spiritual activities. Well, we did have COVID when we came back from India and COVID. So there's opportunities, Bhagavatam class is spirit. So perfectly self-realized here in Bhagavatam class. And then what can whenever we're out in our lives, how to bring this Bhagavatam class into our lives. That's the challenge. And so what can we do?
I was about to post on the Bhakti Yoga discussion page for group last week. Is there a theme park first with the Srimad Bhagavatam? Is there a Srimad Bhagavatam theme park in Florida? I just wanted to
Bangalore, I think it was a project whenever we were there.
Krishna theme park, Bhagavatam theme park.
Yeah.
Orlando, they have a Christian theme park. Orlando, it's like a guy. I know Naveen Krishna's been there. Who's really Naveen Krishna was like really. I've wanted to go there, but the same place as Disney World. Maya or God, but he was really impressed.
Oh, that's nice.
He was really impressed by like the presentation. He was like getting inspired, I think, for
Oh.
the Bangalore project and stuff. But also, yeah, Malina, you shared that like, yeah, happiness and when we planned for
Prahlad Maharaj.
Prahlad Maharaj, we planned for
Happiness.
happiness. That's when we get the most distress. And yeah, Prabhupada, we're reading in the teachings of Queen Kunti, and my reading group with Devin, mostly just Devin and I.
Nice.
Maybe we'll start broadcasting it because nobody's coming to. We might as well bring it to the people. People aren't coming
Oh,
to
like
us.
when you used to broadcast the two on live video, like
Yeah,
the Thursday morning broadcast. I remember.
there you go. So we're reading, yeah. And so Prabhupada's describing that, like, we don't plan for distress. We don't. Nobody plans for distress. Oh, what can I do this afternoon, or what can we do next week that we can have like a really miserable time? But that happens. But miserable times happen, and distress happens. But nobody's planning for it. But distress naturally comes. And he said it's the same thing with happiness. Same thing with happiness, that we spend so much time planning for happiness, but then distress comes anyway. And we don't plan for distress, but distress comes. So the same thing with happiness. The happiness will come. We don't need to plan for it. We don't need to make plans. The happiness and distress will come according to our karma, according to the modes, according to, it's out of our control, out of our control at this point. That happiness and distress will come, and that it's a really not a worthwhile struggle to try to plan for happiness, to try to make plans for happiness. What's that? Oh,
Joshna Sukadugada, Adamapana, just Thomas Tiksha Subharata. Just what you're saying, yeah, because Krishna tells Arjuna there in the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita. The appearance of happiness and distress and the disappearance in due course, or like the appearance and disappearance of winter and summer seasons. And so we're encouraged to tolerate them without being disturbed. It means tolerate the distress, tolerate the happiness. Because with happiness, we can start celebrating. Now there's some happiness. Actually, something went according to the way I wanted it.
I did it.
Yeah, I did.
Wow.
And then yummy no pusham pushashva samuduka sukamdira solely tatmaya kalpate. He says, so one who's not disturbed by happiness and distress, material happiness and distress, and a steady and devotional service, whether there's this much happiness, distress, not discouraged and depressed by the distress, elated by the happiness, steady and devotional service. That's liberation. Otherwise, we're just puppets on the string. Tolerate without being disturbed. And tolerate means that we experience. We're not beach balling it, right? We're experiencing this distress, irritated by it, discouraged, this happiness. I'm feeling. We experience it. We're not pretending it's not there. Same time, we're not wallowing in it. And we're not letting it get in the way from steadily, enthusiastically engaging in devotional service. Really key theme right there at the beginning of Bhagavad Gita and throughout Bhagavad Gita. Hare Krishna.
I want to share.
You have a birthday? Yeah.
Well, I'm inspired around purpose. Because you shared about Prabhupada with purpose created Brahmacharya ashram, protecting women that were out of family home, out of marriage, and then Krishna kind of misbehaving, but it's very, very purposeful misbehaving, kind of doing, we shouldn't do that, things, and then very purposeful reasons, and then also connected with his mercy. I was just like also inspired, like he goes personally to Rukmini, where he could expand himself, be fully present on the battlefield with Jarasandh, but he does, because it's like, but to be ranched, it's like he does something wrong, you know, in the Satvika there too. So like I was noticing all these highlights, and then the purpose, I'm just feeling very inspired, higher purpose, spiritual purpose. That he goes very personally, fully, because he could be fully in infinite places also, fully. So I was just like really moved, touched that he goes all into the, you know, and then he just goes for her, and I was very moved by that. And so, I mean, I'm exploring things in my life where I don't really know the purpose. I'm doing it, and then I'm just like, now I'm kind of, I don't know if lamenting. It's like there's so much opportunities for rich spiritual purpose in some of the like in relation I'm having with my parents right now. Talking about like they're leaving their bodies, you know, getting older. Talking about like I asked them to support me financially to support Kirtan to go to the Bhakti Vedanta Academy, and then there's like different reactions and responses about them feeling not in alignment with him going to that school, and so it brought up like for me like where to go with that. Like there's so much rich purpose there to like kind of how to support them to respond favorably. Like I'm thinking about your kids and then like not wanting to do Harinam, but then you know they responded favorably to the adventure of getting up early and going to temples. So it's like, oh, that's, you know, and I was excited by that. I have that my own struggles with that. So that's what, you know, like how to even argue, fight, how to give up, how to run away, because it's like all with the purpose of raising spiritual consciousness, supporting everyone in remembering Krishna somehow. And like that looks any way, you know, it doesn't look one way. It may look like running away, it may look like really pushing and driving. It's like, but with that consciousness, you know, it was inspired like that.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Yeah, it's just I'm moved by the pastime, Krishna's loving pastime with Rukmini to show up personally 100% for Rukmini. That's moving. Yeah, just meditating on the pastime. It's purifying. It's pastimes of Krishna. And when you speak about purpose, that's it's vital. You have to like what's coming to me is like about living a purpose-driven life, you know, purposeful life. That this came up in like the group coaching, like the last group coaching, because it's like, yeah, there's so many things, so many question marks that we get into in our life of like, well, when's the right time for this? And when should I do more of this? And when should I do more of that? And like, we're trying to strike a balance of like, okay, I need to be, maybe more progressive and I need to be maybe more conservative in this sense, or I need to be more action oriented, or maybe more insight oriented, or I need to be meeting myself where I'm at more, or no, I need to be stretching myself more. Or like, there's so many kind of ambiguous times in our choices that we have in our life of like, well, what's the right thing? What's the right thing for me here? And I think it came up in that group coaching. They're like, well, it like there's like, what's the right answer? Like, there's no right answer. It depends on our purpose. It depends on our relationship with life purpose, and what is the purpose? What is our purpose of our life? And then using that is a guide to how do I show up in this relationship? What's my purpose here in this relationship? What do I say more? Do I say less? And that can like guide our decision making. Someone else, Dick Bendermani, would you follow up with that? Close it, bring it home.
It's the principle, reference point, everything is relative. So like, I will serve you the problem. I will serve self-realization. At least I aspire to want that. So then we're clear on purpose. And then that becomes a reference point about how much time to give here, what boundaries to establish there. And without purpose, it becomes all mental jugglery. Be passionate, even though life's meaningless and empty and like that. Yeah. So, that was the recent group coaching. There was a bit of a challenging, edgy sort of exchange, and that's kind of where I went with it. Like, yeah, to the extent that I'm clear on my purpose, and I'm clear generally, but moment to moment, I'm often not clear because I'm absorbed in lower self, purposeless stuff. To the extent I'm clear on my purpose, yeah, then I'm quite naturally knowing how to establish boundaries, how to utilize time, what to do with resources. To the extent I'm not clear on purpose, then all sorts of confusion, grudges, anxiety, grudges, things like that.
Yeah.
I was thinking of a lecture I heard yesterday or the day before yesterday when Srila Prabhupada speak about there is really, like 4 types of purpose, and to also know those 4 types.
Sure.
Like I can be fixed on my purpose, but what are other purposes that may come in?
Yeah.
And so he said, like, there is a karmi, and there is, like the bodies and the muktis, and then there is bhakta.
Yeah. And
to like really being able to identify where I'm really like the bodies, like it's an enjoyment. And we can see like, okay, well, maybe I have my goal fixed on serving Krishna as a spiritual master, but really what I act out is my goal is to have the most comfort and the most enjoyment and the most pleasure possible. So to know that, okay, that's one of the goal of life. And then also like to develop mystic power. It's another goal that Srila Prabhupada defined. So like maybe intellectually I have the goal, okay, I'm serving Guru and Krishna, but then, how much of my action and my interests are into like, well, I want special power. I want to be able to control people or to have different things that make me different or more special or more valuable in some way or another.
Skills and tools.
Skills
and tools and
and then the merging is like avoiding pain altogether, and then to identify those and in hearing you too, I was thinking like Sharanagati, like to accept what's favorable for devotional service. To really always have that compass, like, okay, what is favorable for devotional service, and where is it that in fact my action, desire, my thoughts are going to a difference of the, 4 goals.
And with that shared, what's favorite devotional service for just in that acceptance, rejection, materially, mentally, physically, sensually, that might sometimes bring happiness, and it might sometimes bring pain and distress. But like, that's just not my goal, to minimize the sensory, mental, ego distress and increase the sensory, physical happiness. That's just not my goal. I mean, that's a very pure devotional platform, but that's what we aspire for as servants of Prabhupada.
And I appreciate how Prabhupada described.
Yeah. It helps us to see where we're at.
It helps us see.
Did you go for army?
The karmi, that's about doing fruitive activities for the fruit. We want the fruit. The fruit is happiness in some ways. And then there is the yogis, and the yogis, they want to enjoy by having special power. And all of us very soon think, I want to be special. I want to have special power.
You know,
And then-
in the mystic powers, people will see me as really, they'll adore me, and they'll see me as special.
It's
I'm
yogi.
thinking of like the cell phone and the notifications and like, oh, like Facebook notifying me.
It's Prabhupada often is really funny because he brings down the mystic power to like, oh well, like the scientists they do that too. So we can go into that, yeah. And then muktis.
Mukti, impersonal, escapist, liberation.
Like it's escapism and anything that's like, wow, this is too much pain. I want to stop the pain by nullifying or making void or nullifying by making it all one. It's also within ourselves, like we want to escape in that way. So when we know that, okay, there is not so many goals, and then the fourth goal, which is bhakti, to completely fulfill and satisfy the pleasure, act for the pleasure of going Krishna.
Karmi, yogi, mukti, bhakti.
Yeah. There's a
It's very clear.
Yeah.
What about enjoying? Just enjoying.
That's karmi.
It's enjoyment.
Just karmi.
Bhakti,
It's
Bhoga.
Bogi karmi.
Yeah, and bhogi karmi, it can take enjoying in all the senses. It can take like, oh, I'll work hard and enjoy later. It can be heavenly planets, then we can worship. Yeah. And then Prabhupada often quotes a text from Chaitanya Charitamrita, Bhukti Mukti Srikam Sakaliyasana. As long as we have any of those other three categories of goals, we will not be peaceful. Krishna Bhakti Nishkama Ata Eva Shanta. And to the extent that our only goal is Krishna Bhakti, then we'll be peaceful. Very, very clear form.
Oh, yeah, I got the birthday present for my kids. I'm gonna gather all these clothes. We're gonna wake them up early in the morning. We're gonna have a class and present all these clothes and say, we don't have a gift for you, though. What do you think? And then give them room to speak. I just feel like I don't have anything to give them that's gonna make them happy, except like here's some knowledge. What do you want to do with that knowledge?
Just the idea of a bhakti birthday. Oh, this is a special day to serve. That's the idea of a bhakti birthday.
Yeah, and then kids are so happy with this.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly we certainly raising Sitanaga, we certainly had our miserable birthdays for sure. At the same time, at some point, what I started doing, I stopped at some point for another reason, but at some point, in addition to the miserable birthday I started sponsoring a Sunday feast on behalf of their birthdays at New Raman Reddy. And then the whole family, we would serve out prasad and like that. So that's the idea. Birthday, it's a special day to serve. Yeah. It's not, this is a special day where I get to be served. Yeah. That's the opposite.
Yeah. With my daughter, we will cook. Yeah. We'll have together. We'll cook. We'll make a feast and invite people and serve it to them. So that's service attitude to the civic pressure. Cook for the homeless. Because the civic pressure to the home. That's so auspicious.
Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you all for being here. Thank you.